Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Ben and JV from JBN Sports Media coming at you guys with our own NFL trade deadline review. This one was hectic, and we didn't expect a lot of names that moved to be moved. I mean, we'll get right into the big one that happened. JV, if you want to obviously talk about it, you are the Jets fan. It was a Sauce Gardner move. How did you feel about this? Immediately, just give me your first thoughts and first opinions when you first saw this.
So this was the most shocking because actually since week 5, there's been rumblings that Quinnen Williams was going to get traded. So there was some talk circulating that he was going to get traded. So that was kind of expected. Breece Hall was another name that was also expected. So seeing Sauce go first was 100% unexpected. His brother, who's his agent as well and his representative, was completely floored. Had no idea this was coming. Was never told that any type of negotiations with other teams were going to be taking place via trade. So this was a shock. It really was. And I'm going to be honest. I know the Colts do get a little bit better at corner, with this move. But the Jets, I think, fleeced them. I really don't see how Gardner was worth 2 first-round picks. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I think this was the highest value offer that the Jets were going to get. And I think pulling the trigger was really a smart move by Darren Muji and the Jets front office. I really thought this was the proper move, and trading Williams as well. This had to be done. So, in order for it to get done, the fans, I understand, that are really upset. They didn't want this to happen, but it happened. So it's for the betterment of the team, Ben. I don't know what your take is. Definitely the betterment for the New York Jets. And I know there's been past regimes that haven't drafted well, with some picks. But Muji, we have to give him a chance. He's a brand new GM. He doesn't have his fingerprint on this team yet. And this is going to be his way of doing that by building draft capital and doing it through the draft. And that's the only way to build right now, and maybe plugging in free agents along the way. But right now, this is the only way. The Jets were 1-7 with all these guys on their team, and they haven't been winning, even when they were all healthy and playing, with Aaron Rodgers and that whole regime that had been put in place a couple of years back, where they thought they were Super Bowl contenders, and it just didn't work out. And this had to be done. And I was saying it yesterday. I said it on TikTok. They have to take a chill pill and just try to go through this process again, because we weren't going to be winning with the team that was constructed previously.
No, absolutely not. And, if you look at it kind of in the point of view of Jets fans, is that, they see another move where they lose another one of their key stars, one of their best players. Sauce hasn't been the best since his rookie year. We got to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So 2 first-round picks, I think that is totally a must. It's a must. And that by itself was a great deal for the Jets, the 2 first-round picks. The addition of A.D. Mitchell as well, pretty good. Another young receiver. You saw Pittman tweet about it from the Colts. He was like, dang, we lost our dog here. And that's because they thought of him as a pretty decent receiver. So that's another receiver for the Jets. The 2 first-round picks, though, if you look at that, that's obviously the main piece. And rightfully so, because what will that mean? What will that mean? I know the Colts right now are 7-2. A lot of season left. But at the end of the day, building that draft capital, the Jets most likely, I'm not going to say for sure, will have the first round, like the first number 1 overall pick. But they're going to be right there battling for it. So I think adding that Colts pick, obviously we'll talk about the Quinnen Williams trade in a minute, but this is phenomenal for the draft capital. I think they're doing exactly what they needed to do. 2 first-round picks for Sauce. I think the Jets did very good with that. For the Colts, if we're talking about it in an aspect for the Colts, I really like the move. I know he's in concussion protocol right now. Who knows if he's going to be cleared, but I like it. They obviously felt like that was the necessity that they needed. I mean, they got this guy locked up as well. So for the Colts, I give it a B+. I give it a B+. You fill out a necessity. For the Jets, I'll give it an a straight up A, because like I said, building the draft capital, very important nowadays in this league. And just do what you got to do. Find the success in the draft. I know the Jets haven't, had the best of luck with quarterback recently in the draft, but I think hopefully if they're looking at this Mendoza guy, it's time. You got to kind of put the chips in the right direction. And I think they will. But we have to talk about the other one that happened right here. And I think this was actually, we saw this one coming more so, JV, and we'll go back-to-back Jets. The Cowboys trading for defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. The Jets get a 2026 second-round pick, 2027 first-round pick, and defensive tackle Mozzie Smith. What did you think about this, JB?
Listen, the fact that we were able to get a first round pick out of this is really huge. It's a big thing that we're going to be able to get in 2026. So it's something sooner rather than later. We got Mozzie Smith, who hasn't really been playing. He was really good at Michigan, but I think that's where he went. I think he went to Michigan. But after that, he hasn't really played, and he hasn't really been good. So hopefully we could fix that. I'm not too sure how, but hopefully, he comes to the Jets maybe to change the scenery and it works out that way. But listen, Williams was a great, piece on that defensive line, but it hasn't worked out. He hasn't been consistent. He hasn't really rushed the quarterback. That D-line hasn't really put fear into a lot of teams. I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and they don't get after the quarterback. So this had to be done. I mean, the value was as high as it's going to be. I don't think if we trade him next year that we get a package like this. And I think the Cowboys were kind of desperate to address that defensive line a little bit, and they got a 3-time Pro Bowler. So listen, I think it's a great move for both sides because it fixes some things. And just to get back to what you were saying for the Colts, I agree. I think the Colts needed a corner, and I think, like I said, Dallas needed a lineman. So this all worked out for both sides. I do think when it comes to Sauce and Quinnen, I think they were in the wrong systems, bro. I really do. I think when it comes to Sauce, he was playing too much man coverage. He's better in a zone coverage. Because if you think about it like this is how it really breaks down. Sauce playing man coverage, his back is always to the ball. He can't really focus on where the quarterback is going. So he was getting cooked. He legitimately was. And for Quinnen, it's just really the focus was get to the quarterback. They just couldn't. I don't know if it was scheme. I don't know if it was talent. They just weren't getting to the quarterback. And they addressed it. They said, who can we trade right now that their value is as high as it's going to be? And Quinnen happened to be on the list. And that's just how it's going to work. And I know the Jets tried to shop Hall. It didn't work out because the Chiefs wanted, they thought a 4th-round pick was necessary, which I kind of think they would cheap it out a little bit. I don't think Brees is worth a 4th-round pick. A 3rd-round pick would have sufficed. But I guess, to each his own. But like I said, I think the Jets really did great work in one day. It was a great day's work. I really think getting 3 first-round picks is a key. And if they happen to be the worst team of football, there's your first pick. Now you got 4 picks.
Yeah. Look, we'll talk about this later on because, look, 3 first-round picks. Like I said, insane draft capital. That's 3 for 2027, I believe, because let me just pull up the Sauce one real quick. Yes, that's 2. One for this upcoming year and then 1 for next. And then the Quinnen one is 1 for 2027. So that's 3 first-round picks, including their own for 2027, which is phenomenal. It is phenomenal.
And 26. It's 26 as well for Quinnen.
Yeah, that's the 2nd-round pick in 2026. They got a 2nd-round pick for
No, it says New York Jets get 2026 first-round pick.
Oh, okay, because this
right. So that's the 3.
Yeah, because this one right here says Jets get 2026 2nd-round pick and 2027 first.
Oh, I do see the top. Oh, wow. Oh, so yeah, and Mozzie Smith. Okay. Yeah, listen, it's how do you say no? If you're Muji, how do you say no to that?
Yeah, you can't say no. You can't say no. There was 2 other trades. The rest of the trades were really, it's not worth talking about. I got to be honest. But there was two other good trades that we have to talk about. One that I really liked, a big time, especially because they're competing for the playoff spot, still competing for the AFC South. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars trading a 4th and 6th-round pick for wide receiver Jacoby Myers from the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know about you, JB, but I really like this move for the Jags. Obviously, with the Travis Hunter injury, him going on IR, you best believe when he does come back, he's going to be strictly defense. That's what it tells me. He's going to be strictly defense. That's it. They're not going to risk it no more with this guy.
No, because now if he gets hurt on one side of the ball, he's completely useless on both sides of the ball. Yeah. So, and then it's like, you also lose an option offensively. It's not just offensively, it's defensively and vice versa. So you lose one player for 2 sides of the ball. And I think that they were able to get Myers for a 4th and a 6th rounder, to me, is also kind of on the steal side. To be honest with you, I feel like maybe the Raiders could have asked for a 3rd and a 5th, and maybe, instead of a 4th and a 6th, I think that would have been a viable way to go as well, because I think Myers is a very good and solid wide receiver that could really help a guy like Lawrence. And that offense really plugged in a hole. They fixed the hole. They saw what they needed. They realized that Hunter was going to go down and he's going to be out for a few weeks, and this is really somebody that could help them. And it's all about how that offense uses him as well. Hopefully, they utilize him correctly, and it just benefits Lawrence. But I think that was a steal for the Jags, honestly.
I do. I like it. Adds another wide receiver to that wide receiver room with Brian Thomas. Obviously, they have Strange, the tight end. So just adding more weapons, and I think it's rightfully so because they're still trying to compete for a playoff spot. I think right now in this current moment, they're actually in the playoff spot, and the Chiefs are looking out, which they're looking in from outside, which is crazy, but, still early.
Right, I know.
The Chiefs have their bye week. I feel like they're about to rip off a crazy win streak, and, the rest is going to be the rest. But the Jags could still obviously compete for a playoff spot, or even still can compete for the division. I mean, the Texans, we got to be honest, C.J. Stroud's not playing against the Jaguars this Sunday. So the Jags are going to put themselves in a really great situation right here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust Davis Mills as far as I could throw him. So, I mean, the Jags have to win that game. If they're really serious about making a playoffs either as a division winner or a wild card, they have to win this Sunday.
Yeah, they do. They do. Like I said, great pickup for the Jags, adding a wide receiver too with Brian Thomas Jr. And yeah, the rest is the rest. I know the Seahawks had a great game on Sunday night, and it was a phenomenal performance by Sam Darnold, but they said, hey, another wide receiver shall do it. So they traded for Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints. I think this is phenomenal. A deep ball threat for Sam Darnold and Rashid Shaheed. What did you think about this, JV?
Well, for me personally, I loved it for two reasons. One, I had him on my fantasy team. I also have Sam Darnold. I also have Sam Darnold on my fantasy team. So now I have this little connection that they could build, which to me is just going to mean more points for me. So,
yeah.
So no, but in football terms, this is a great deal for Seattle. I think it adds a ton of firepower on the offensive side of the ball. If you saw last week, it looked like Sam Darnold didn't even need a wide receiver because he could just do it all himself. He was fantastic, throwing 4 touchdowns last week. I mean, he's looked really, really sharp. And to add a guy like Shaheed right now to an offense that's already clicking, to me, is a fantastic move by Seattle's front office. And I think, honestly, they just prepared themselves, to really, really ramp up their playoff run and be, a real problem in the NFC West.
I think, don't quote me on it, I think they're currently the 1 seed in the NFC in general, which is crazy.
Yeah, that whole NFC West is wild. There's 2 6-2 teams, and the Niners are at 6-3. So that whole division is playing very well.
Yeah, I love this move. I think it's another deep ball threat for Darnold that with him pairing up with him and JSN, that's phenomenal right there. That's phenomenal. JSN's been a top 3 receiver this year, so I think it's great. Obviously, we're going to talk about a little bit teams that didn't quite make moves and didn't put themselves in position where, they were at the 1 yard line from a lot of things I was hearing. We'll talk about the Bills. We'll talk about the Packers. Obviously, JV kind of mentioned it. So we'll start with the Chiefs. The Chiefs cheaping out, not getting Breece Hall because they didn't want to throw a 3rd round pick. I find that a little bit crazy considering that they traded a 3rd round pick for Kadarius Toney, but they weren't able to do it for Breece Hall, which if you pair Breece Hall with either Hunt or Pacheco, I would say more so Hunt because they've been using more so Hunt, if anything, more than Pacheco, which is crazy. But look, if you would have paired those two up, great running game with Mahomes, great running game right there. I think they cheaped themselves out big time.
Yeah, and let me tell you something, not for nothing. This could have been a guy they could have kept for the next 3 or 4 years who could have been a focal point to their offense. He's a dual threat. He could run the football with a decent offensive line in front of him. We've seen that. And we also seen that he could catch the football as well. And yards after catch. He's a beast running. So if you can get him out in the open and catch a couple of passes, 1 or 2 blocks, he's gone. I mean, this guy's an offensive talent. He's just, like I said, he's with the New York Jets, and they're not running the correct schemes for him. So imagine a guy like Mahomes, mean, and Andy Reid, and just being with the right personnel and the right group of veterans. He would have flourished in that offense, man. And not for nothing, he could have been their one. They could have kept Pacheco maybe as a hybrid 2, or if they decide to maybe get rid of Pacheco and keep Hunt, that could have been beastly, however, which way they wanted to go for it. And the fact that they just couldn't give a 3rd round pick as opposed to a 4th round pick just shows you how kind of cheap they were about it. And to me, it was shocking. I mean, it's not like the Jets were asking for a 2nd round pick and they were completely so far off. It was literally just 1 round difference. I mean, you want a guy like that could be a pretty good playmaker, and you don't want to just kind of double down on yourself. I mean, offer the 3rd round pick. I mean, that would have been a great pickup. That move could have been like a top 3 move for the entire deadline.
No doubt about that. I think it shows Mahomes a little bit, and it might not be too much of overthinking, but like for Mahomes, and he's had a pretty good year so far. You best believe he wanted a guy like Brees Hall in that offense.
Oh,
You
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
I feel like it doesn't send the best message. Same thing for, I'll be honest, Josh Allen, because we talk about the Bills and we kind of shift to them. Supposedly, they were very close to acquiring Calvin Ridley from the Titans. That would have been a phenomenal pickup right there for the Bills. I don't care how old Calvin Ridley is. You pair him up with Coleman or Shakir or those young guys. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been great stuff right there by Buffalo. I'm a little bit surprised that Buffalo didn't make a move. I got to be honest. I really am.
Me too, especially because they haven't had a true one since Stephon Diggs has left. I mean, Shakir to me isn't a one.
Nah.
I know he's doing his best. He's not playing horrible football, but he's not in the mix to be a number one. And if you took him off the Bills and you put him anywhere else, he's not a number one anywhere else either. So the fact that the Bills are kind of utilizing him as one of their top options is a little weird. I think they could have used a guy like maybe like Shaheed.
They
Maybe
could have.
they could have went after him. I think they were a little too stagnant in this deadline, and it's only gonna fit, pan out in the playoffs. So we'll see how far they could get, because that's when those moves really come to fruition, and the lack of making moves as well.
Yeah, another team I would like to mention that I'm actually very surprised they didn't make a move. I mean, I'll talk about my Packers real quick, very quickly, but that's not the team I had in mind. The Packers, I'm not that surprised they didn't do any moves. I mean, obviously they lost Kraft to the tight end position. I know they were in for Njoku. They were in for Meyer, the backup tight end in Las Vegas. They were in on him too. They were in on Okonkwo from the Titans, that tight end. It just didn't pave out to go that route. I mean, it's cool. I get it. They're not trying to go all the way in to find a backup tight end, because they still have Luke Musgrave, who was a third-round pick. I just don't know if they have a lot of stock in him. So that's that for the Packers. I know, since I'm a Packers fan, just my thoughts on it. I mean, I didn't expect a big-time move, especially after the Micah trade in the offseason. So that's one thing. The Steelers, that's the team I wanted to talk about right there. No wide receiver help. I mean, what are we doing right here? You guys are in prime position to take the AFC North, and you guys didn't go get a Chris Olave, didn't go get a Shaheed, even a Calvin Ridley. Geez, even a Calvin Ridley, I think would have been
that would have
perfect.
been nice too.
I mean, you got to keep in mind, Baltimore's not at its strongest. Cincinnati, I mean, they job effortlessly every week. I mean, what are we doing? Pittsburgh, this is your division to take.
Yeah, I felt, again, teams got way too non-aggressive and way too complacent. I'm not too sure what the Pittsburgh mindset was, trying not to get another wide receiver. I believe we even talked about this the day of the deadline, asking how Pittsburgh stayed quiet. I mean, I don't even think they were in negotiations to make a move. I know, like you just said, the Packers, they were on the 1 yard line with Njoku from Cleveland, which would have been, to me, a phenomenal move.
Yeah.
For Green Bay, but at least they were there. At least there was talks. Something fell through. It happens. But the fact that the Bills and the excuse me, I just had a brain fart. Who are we talking about? Just
the Steelers. We're talking
the
about
Steelers. Yeah, the fact that they weren't able to cross the finish line and get a player is amazing to me. And I think just because you have a winning record doesn't mean you should be happy with what you have. Sometimes you need to plug in some holes and fill in some holes that your team has. And to me, the Steelers dropped the ball more than Buffalo did here. I really think they needed a receiver to help Aaron Rodgers there. But I feel like Buffalo could maybe weather the storm with their running game, but I really do feel that the Steelers should have gone out and got a wide receiver.
Yeah, we look at any other team that pops up that didn't quite make a move. I know previously, I one move that I did like. It wasn't on the trade deadline date. The Eagles traded for Jalen Phillips from the Dolphins, I believe it was. That was a pretty good move. I'll say that. They give up a 3rd-round pick for him, rightfully so. I mean, that's a pretty good move. They didn't go silent. Another team I felt like kind of went silent. I mean, not necessarily that I expected them to do something big, but the Lions kind of didn't do anything as well. I mean, I don't know if they had to upgrade defense.
Something, yeah, I would have said to it, maybe update their defense, upgrade their defense a little bit. They looked a little shaky defensively. Again, I don't know, maybe teams were asking too much, or just teams don't feel as concerned as we do for them. I don't really know, but a lot of teams that are making playoff runs that could have made a move didn't, and to me, it's a little shocking.
Another team, the Patriots, with them being the best team right now in the AFC, they don't Excuse me. They
which is
didn't trade for
wild.
another wide receiver, another more so wide receiver. But I think they like their receiving core right now with Douglas. I mean, it's a lot of misfits on there. So that's just another team I had in mind. But like you said, maybe the market was just a little bit too high for certain teams.
Yeah, and listen, I understand that. I do feel like I said, if you want to make the playoffs and be aggressive, sometimes you have to make a move. And
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of these GMs, they keep they keep these negotiations a little too close to the chest, and
right.
they don't really go for it. And sometimes it's going to cost you. Sometimes not making a move is the best thing, but sometimes making the move is the best thing as well. It's all about how your organization is kind of set up. But like I said, I think the Steelers really dropped the ball, not even being out there, outspoken, even with anybody. I didn't hear them at all being in any type of rumors for any type of offensive help, which was really shocking to me.
Real quick, I'll throw it out to the chat as well in the comment section. Give us your winners and losers of this NFL trade deadline. I'll throw mine real quick. I'll give you my winner first. I think my winner is the Jets. I think the Jets did exactly what they needed to do when it came to getting the right value in return, and they got more, in my opinion, than the right value. Uh,
Absolutely.
so 3 first-round picks are away. I think the Jets, I would give them an A. I said it before. I say they're the main winner at this deadline. Well, how do you feel about that, JV? Who's your winner?
Absolutely. I think it's the New York Jets as well. I think it makes the most sense for what they did and the fact that they had the ability to get those 3 first-round picks. It was a no-brainer. I don't think there was anything to talk about in that front office. I think it was just basically saying, hey, the writing's on the wall here. We're going to have to pull the trigger. And again, I agree with you. I think it's an A. It just reset their future a little bit. So it was definitely an A as an appropriate grade.
Loser. If I had to pick a loser, and there's a few teams you could go with, I have to go with the Chiefs. I was just really rubbed off the wrong way with, like I said before, you give a 3rd-round pick to Kadarius Toney, but you don't give one for Breece Hall in that running game that could have been. I think the Chiefs really cheaped themselves out, and we'll see if it comes to haunt them in the playoffs, which who knows, but I would have to say the Chiefs. Who would you pick?
Yeah, I'm going to say Chiefs as well, just because they were so cheap. I mean, they literally could have got that deal done for a 3rd-round pick. I mean,
Yeah,
Muji told them, like, hey, we're not interested in the 4th. We want a 3rd, and you just bat an eye and just keep it moving. It's crazy. Like I said, it's not like they offered a 2nd and they would like completely off. It was just a 4th to a 3rd, and I think the Chiefs not pulling the trigger there was just so weird. And
yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, the Steelers too maybe are the 1A
Yep,
in the loser section, and they could have got a guy like Brees Hall too.
they
Someone
could
who's
have.
played with Aaron Rodgers before, has a little bit of a rapport. Could have been a nice little piece to add if they weren't going to go for a receiver. At least it would have been on the offensive side of the ball. So I think those two are the 1 and the 1A of the biggest losers in this deadline.
As always, chat. Let us know what you guys think in the comments section. We obviously will love to hear your opinions. Thank you guys for your continuous amount of support. Love. Keep subscribing to this page if you guys haven't yet. Like this video. JV, if you have any things you want to say just to wrap it up before we do.
No, absolutely. Just to piggyback of what you said, thank you for the love and support. This has been phenomenal. Your interaction with us through the comments as well has been great on IG and TikTok. It's been blowing up. I mean, Brew's been doing his lives, and we're getting 50,000 likes between the cross promotion with JBM and Brew Crew Sports World. It's been phenomenal, and we have you guys to thank for it.
As always, guys, stay on it and make sure you guys subscribe because this content it's only going to be coming out at a rapid pace.